In this video, I am going to be going over the best loadouts for the Model 1887 in the final. So the only weapon I'm going to be using for this loadout is the Model 1887, and I'm just going to be talking through what pairs best with that. So I did like a best loadout for the sledgehammer, which I just really like, so I thought I would make it on that first. And now we're going to talk about the Model 1887, because this is a very, very, very good weapon, both at all ranges. At the very high up ranges, this is very good, and at the low ranges, if you've got decent aim, this is also a very good weapon. It's definitely a pretty meta weapon right now, so I thought it made sense to do a video on this. So, starting off with the specializations, you don't really want the turret. It's going to give you a little bit of extra damage that you can pair well with the Model 1887. So obviously the Model 1887 does very, very good burst damage, and the turret would kind of be doing damage over time. So you could pair those together to try and get a finish with the turret, or get the turret to get someone low, and then maybe you just insta-kill them with the Model 1887. Like if you're shooting a light, for example, if you hit them once with a model, they get pretty low, so maybe the turret could cheat them a little bit, and then you finish them off with the model, or vice versa, or something like that. But the healing beam is just much, 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 much better, and the dematerializer is also much, much better. So just go with one of those. The turret is fine, and it will pair okay with the Model 1887, but healing beam is going to be your best friend, and dematerializer is going to be your friend as well. So it's kind of up to you if you want to go with healing beam or dematerializer. It also depends on your teammates. Like if you've got two teammates using two healing beams, then you can probably just go with dematerializer. But if you've got like a light and a heavy, then you probably want to go with healing beam to heal the heavy. So it also does depend on what your teammates are using. So the healing beam is just gonna be kind of like on its own. It's gonna pair well with pretty much anything else, because it's not something that you use for yourself, it's something you use to heal your teammates, right? So the healing beam is always going to pair well with anything, whereas the dematerializer is actually gonna pair pretty well with the shotgun. This is a shotgun, right? It's got good range, but it's still a shotgun, so you do want to be up close and personal with people. So, you know, if someone's like a floor above, you demat, bring them down, they're point blank range, and then you shotgun them with the Model 1887, and that's going to do a whole lot of damage. And also, the closer you are, the easier it is to go in, the easier it's going to be to get that like max damage potential with the shotgun, because the further away you are, the harder it is going to be to aim. And also, damage fall off is a thing as well. So dematerializer is actually going to pair pretty well with this gun. So it's really just going to depend on whichever you prefer and what your teammates are using, whether or not you're going to use the dematerializer or the healing beam. So when you load into a game, do be ready to kind of switch these out depending on who you're up against. And I mean, you can go for the turret if you really want to, but it's just going to be so much worse than the dematerializer or the healing beam. Both of those can be used in like every game and every situation. Turrets sometimes just won't do anything in a fight at all, and then you'll just get like team wiped, and you didn't really do anything unless you got a whole lot of kills with just not really using a specialization. So the turret really isn't fantastic, but dematerializer or healing beam, it's going to be up to you whichever one you want to put on, and it is also going to depend on what your teammates are using. For the gadgets, always put the defibrillator on. Just do it. Just put the defibrillator on. Especially if you're playing ranked, just put the defibrillator on. And then for gadgets, you probably want to have one thing for movement on. So you can either go with the jump pad or the zipline. It's just personal preference. It's whatever you prefer. I prefer the zipline because it's easier for my teammates to see, and it's easier for them to like use it. The jump pad is going to be better if you're all like trio stacking and you're using comms, and you could be like, hey, I'm going to place a jump pad on this stairway so we can go super fast, and then your teammates all use the jump pad with you. The jump pad is also going to pair very well with like the CL40, but that's not what this video is about. So it's just preference regarding whatever you want to use here, but you probably should have either the zipline or the jump pad on. Mobility is very, 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 very good to have on the medium, so I absolutely would recommend putting one of those on. And then your last gadget is up to you. I like the frags because they just do a nice bit of burst damage, which is very, very good. They also do splash damage, which is handy if there are people grouped up in an area. So you can go for this. If you want to be careful with the CL40, you can just go with the APS turret if you really want to. You could also go crazy with like double movement and go with like jump pad and zipline. And the stuff that's going to pair best with the Model 1887 here is actually probably going to be the flashbang. The flashbangs are going to be pretty good if you're pairing this with the model and also the dematerializer. So you flashbang someone, you start flanking, you use the DMAT to come off at a weird angle, and then you just start shotgunning people. This is also going to work well with a CL40. So flashbangs can actually be pretty good with this, but they are going to take a good bit of skill to use. If you want to... No, I was going to recommend the data reshaper, but I'd take that back, because if you're using the dematerializer, then there's not going to be so much point having the data reshaper, and nobody really uses turrets, and barricades you can just jump over and stuff. So no, never mind. I was going to say to use that, but never mind. But yeah, so apart from the data reshaper, and I wouldn't really use the explosive mines either, so apart from those two, it's pretty much just up to you what you want to use. Gas mine is fine, pyro grenade if you like fire, goo grenade for a little bit of defense, gas grenade if you like gas, frag grenades if you like burst damage, and then glitch trap if you like negating defibs. This is actually pretty useful, so glitch traps are actually pretty solid right now because the meta is absolutely medium. So glitch traps are very useful for just preventing people from defibbing. So if you like chuck this on someone's totem, the enemies can't defib until they get rid of the mine, and that's also going to tell you where the enemies are, which is very, very useful. So glitch mines are very solid. And then, you know, if you want to stop someone from using the CL40, you can use the APS turret, but it's only going to stop 3 bullets, so it's really not going to be that good. You can just pick it up and place it again, but it's still not going to be that fantastic, because there's a good chance that if you're in a game that's like all mediums, there's a good chance that most people aren't going to be using the CL40, right? So you can have this on your reserve or something in case you know what your opponents are using, but I would probably go with like the glitch traps or the frag grenades, but you can also just go with like flashbang, APS, gas goo, pyro, gas mine, and yeah, I'd kind of stay away from the explosive mine and the data reshaper. I know some people like the data reshaper, but I genuinely just don't think it's going to be that fantastic. Like, yes, you can get rid of turrets and barricades and stuff like that, but you can also just avoid those things because they don't really do a whole lot on their own. So yeah, as for stuff that's going to pair directly well with the model, I mentioned the flashbang already. And I think that's pretty much going to be it. I don't think there's going to be else that's going to pair like directly well with the model. Like when I made the sledgehammer video, the winch claw paired well with it directly, and then also the what else was it? The goo paired well with it directly because you can get people stuck in goo and then you can go hit them. But with the model, there's nothing really like that aside from the flashbangs that can be pretty useful for it. But with the flashbangs, you do want to pair it with the DMAT as well. If you just try and go like flashbang model and healing beam, it's not going to be the best. I think flashbang model and the DMAT is quite good, but you're kind of committing a lot then to that specific loadout. So it really is just up to you. The model in itself is just a very, very, very good weapon. So you don't have to do a whole lot to make it work because it just works already. The flashbangs are a very small thing that you can use if you're skilled with them. But apart from that, anything that does burst damage is going to be good. So like frag grenades are going to be very, very good to just try and stack that burst damage as much as you possibly can. You can also go the damage over time route if you want to. So you could go like, if you really wanted to, you could go like turret and then like pyro mine and try and get the turret shooting at someone, then try and pyro them and then get them low and then finish them off with the model. That's something you could try as well. But in general, whatever you do here is going to pair pretty well with the model because it's just a very good weapon right now. It's been a good weapon for a while actually, but it's definitely meta right now and medium is meta right now. So you can pretty much put on anything you want here. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You do want to have defib on because it's mecha useful unless you're playing like a fun game mode that you don't really care about winning in. Like, I don't know, if you're playing, you know, Power Shift, you don't need to have the defib on because it doesn't really matter. But if you're playing World Tour, you should probably put defib on. And if you're playing Ranked, you should always have defibrillator on because it's very, very, very useful. You do want something for movement because there are going to be situations where a totem is in an awkward place, and you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get up to that totem unless you have the zipline or the jump pad on. Even if you've got very good map knowledge, sometimes the enemies will just destroy a stairway or destroy a zipline, and then you can't get up there normally. Then also on maps where there's like suspended structures or something like that, or like up, down, left, right, you are going to want something to be able to get up to those suspended platforms, right? So you do want to have zipline or jump pad. You can put both on if you want to be a movement demon. That's up to you. And then the third slot there is just entirely up to you. It's pretty much just whatever you want to have. Obviously, the weapon is the model. Then for the specialization, I would stay away from the turret, but the healing beam or the dematerializer are both going to be pretty good picks, and I think the healing beam is going to be a fair bit better than the dematerializer, because it's always going to be useful in every single fight you ever play. But sometimes, you know, if you're not very creative, the dematerializer might be great. So if you're like a low level player or like a medium level player, the healing beam is going to be better. And even if you're a high level player, the healing beam is still going to be a fantastic choice, but you can probably do more with the dematerializer when you get up to that level. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to make these videos too long because there's not really much else to say. On your reserves, I guess, I could talk about the reserves. On your reserves, you should just put on whatever you think you might switch to. So, you know, if you're thinking about switching the model, put on whatever weapon you want to think about switching to. Like, if you like the CL40, put that on the reserve. If you like the AKM, put that on the reserve. If you like the Pike, put that on the reserve. And those are actually the 3 that I have on my reserves. But if you know that you want to use the Model 1887, then on your reserve you can put on pretty much just what you think you might want to switch to. So maybe you'll have a game where you want to switch to goo grenades instead of frag grenades. If you want to play more defensively, if your teammates are super offensive, maybe you want to have a gadget that's like defensive, like the goo grenade or something like that. And maybe you want APS on as well in case you encounter a CL40 team in like the 3rd round. In the 2nd round, I mean. And then the final round, you know they're going to be using the CL40, so you want something to, you know, prevent that, so then you put on the APS turret. But yeah, there you go. That's actually it now. So, there you go. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you want to see next, whatever weapon you want to see next. I probably won't do it the next day, but I'll do it the day after the next day, because that's when the video will go live, and then I'll be able to see the comments, and then I'll make the video the day after the one this goes out, if that makes sense. But there you go. I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.